Episode 4 of Wheel of Time Season 3 is out, and there is a ton to talk about. Today I'm going to give you my full spoiler review of the episode. I'll let you know what I liked, what I didn't like, and then I'll give the episode a rating. So let's dive into Episode 4 of Season 3 of Amazon's Wheel of Time, titled The Road to the Spear. So let's kick off the review of Episode 4 with a quick recap of the episode. And the episode opens up with Rand and Land sparring and talking about Rand's parents and his life and his future. They are camped with the Tardad Aiel on their way to Roidon. Now, in the camp, Moiraine and Egwene speak with the Aiel Wise Ones and learn about Roidon and the Dream World and how the Wise Ones knew the party was coming. Outside of the tent, Lan and Aviendha spar for a bit before the Wise Ones come and take Aviendha's spears, snap them in half, and send her off to Roidon to become a Wise One. The next day, the group arrives at Chandare, and the Shido Aiel are already there. Bear and Melaine, the two Wise Ones, send all of the men to the tents, but both Rand and Moiraine ask permission to go into Roidon, and their requests are granted. Rand will go through the glass columns in the city, inside the mists, and Moiraine, of course, will head through the three rings. Now, Rand is told that he will experience the history of his ancestors, and Moiraine will see potential futures. When Rand and Moiraine enter the city, they see Aven Desora, or the Tree of Life that gives peace under its branches. It's a tree that everybody knew the Aiel had, but they had no idea where it was. Moiraine tells of how the sapling the Aiel gave to the Cairhienin was chopped down, and that's what started the Aiel War, and ultimately what brought Rand's parents to Dragonmount and why he was able to fulfill the prophecy. Rand then enters the glass columns and begins to move backwards in time. He first sees his father Janduin, a clan chief, finding his dead wife Shael that we saw in the cold open of episode 7 of season 1, but with the baby missing. He next moves backwards into the past and sees an Aiel clan chief named Mandian, and he witnesses the establishment of the ritual of coming to Roidon to become a clan chief. They meet an Aes Sedai there who tells them of the future chief of all the Aiel that will come later. Hint, hint, that's Rand. She also tells them that they have forgotten their past and that they are oath breakers. Next, Rand jumps even further into the past as Luwin, an Aiel boy following the way of the leaf with his friends. When he hears that his sister was captured by bandits, he goes after her and tries to rescue her, of course without violence. However, in the process, he ends up killing a man in self-defense. When he returns with his sister tells his family that he killed someone, and his family then disowns him for breaking the way of the leaf and killing somebody else, even in defense of himself or his sister. He vows to protect the other Aiel along with his friend, as they will not protect themselves, beginning the violent Aiel that we know in the present. Rand then moves even further into the past, seeing a group of Aiel after an attack. A large part of the group is leaving the wagons and moving to settle down, abandoning their oaths because of safety. However, an older Aiel man and his grandson choose to keep going, protecting the Chora sapling and moving with the wagons. Rand continues to move back in time, now as an Aiel man, taking an oath from the Aes Sedai to protect some items of power and the Chora saplings as the breaking of the world begins. You can see in the distance great destruction happening at the hands of the male Aes Sedai, who are going crazy. This is the same female Aes Sedai, though, that we saw earlier, Latra Pose Dakume, who was the leader of the female Aes Sedai that stood against Lews Therin Telamon. Rand then moves even further back in time as an Aiel named Charn, who serves Mirren and Aes Sedai. He meets with her, and it turns out to be Lanfear the day before they drilled into the Dark One's prison. Now, of course, she's not Lanfear at this time. She tells him of the potential that everyone would have access to a special power, and that's why they'll be drilling into this thinness in the pattern, and then he leaves to go back to farming the land. The scene ends with the floating university imploding in the air, and a great rift forming in the sky, seeming to open the Dark One's prison. When Rand finally leaves the columns, he has dragons inscribed on his arms, and he sees Aviendha, who he speaks with briefly before she runs back to the camp. Meanwhile, Moiraine finds a Sa'angreal in the Chora tree, the same one that we saw the Aes Sedai use to help create the fog in Roidon, and that we saw Latra Pose give to an Aiel in Rand's flashbacks. She then goes through the rings and sees many possible futures. We see quick glimpses of her and potential futures where she either kills or bonds Rand, where Lanfear kills her multiple ways. She seems absolutely horrified by what she sees, but the episode ends with dawn quickly approaching, and Rand, while holding Moiraine in his arms, returns right at dawn, earning the name He Who Comes with the Dawn. All right, so before I share my thoughts, please give the video a like if you like this type of content and subscribe to the channel if you like Wheel of Time content. But in terms of what I liked about this episode, let me say up front that this is going to be very hard for me to be impartial here. This is one of my absolute favorite scenes from the books. I think that this scene, in the books at least, is what changes the Wheel of Time from a basic fantasy story to an incredible fantasy world, all with this sequence. So simply seeing it come to life is an emotional experience for me, regardless of whether I thought it was perfect or not. And while it wasn't perfect, there are some things that I wish we got, which I'll mention here in a moment. This scene was really damn good to me. So what all did I love? Well, for one, let me start by saying that I think it was a great decision to have Yosha play all of the characters as he moved through his past. I think it really helped us to see it through his eyes and understand that he was truly moving backwards in time. I also think they told the history of the Aiel people really well, especially for the time constraints they're given. One of the reasons I've always loved the scene from the books was getting to see the lore of the past, and specifically the Age of Legends. I was so fired up to see the Sharome, that's the floating ball that's a part of the Colum Dawn University that you actually saw in this episode. Seeing Lanfear before she was Lanfear was also incredible. Natasha is so sincere and real, and even the way she played Mirren, I really can't say enough good things about her. Also, what an incredible sight to see the board drilled right in front of us and see the Dark One's prison opening. It gave me chills, honestly. And lastly, I loved seeing Rand arrive at dawn. Call it rose-colored glasses or just fond memories or just weird emotions, but seeing Rand actually becoming he who comes with the dawn was such a cool moment. Now, in terms of what I did not love with this episode, there was very little, and almost all of it can be chalked up to not having enough time to tell the story. For example, I think there are a few missing steps in Rand's journey back through time, specifically the Kyrianan giving the Aiel water, and that being the reason that they ultimately ended up giving the Chora sapling. I mean, they mentioned this with exposition from Moiraine before he went into the columns, so it seemed like we might be getting it, but then we didn't. I think maybe they're assuming that because Moiraine described it, we didn't need to see it. I guess one other thing that I wanted more of was the breaking of the world. We saw some distant destruction going on, but I wanted to see some like 2012 shit going down as the breaking of the world was beginning to really show how bad it was. I mean, everything was a little bit too idyllic in that flashback scene. It's the same as I felt in the cold open for episode 8 of season 1. There just wasn't enough danger coming through in the Age of Legends, especially at that time, because men were going crazy. The world was ending, basically, and there was this rush against time to save what they could save, and that was the motivation of handing the things to the Aiel. And although they kind of did that, I didn't get the same race against time mentality that I wanted to see, but again, it's not a huge deal. I thought they still did it really well, but that was one thing I wish we could have gotten more of. I think the only thing that I was truly a little perturbed about was a small thing, but it was Janduin not having his veil up. I know that they want us to see that it's Rand, but literally this is the story about why they wear veils, and he isn't wearing one. And of course, Shael didn't wear a veil in the cold open of episode 7 of season 1. Again, it's a small nitpick, but this is just a dumb mistake. But as for a rating for this episode, this might have been my favorite episode of the entire series so far. All 3 seasons. It wasn't perfect, but it's about as close to perfect as I think we're going to get from the people behind the show, given the constraints they have. I'm going to give this episode a 9.5 out of 10. What did you think? Did I get it right? Let me know in the comments of the video, and also like the video if you like this type of content, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of it. Huge thank you to my patrons for supporting the channel. I appreciate y'all so much. If you want to become a patron, check out the link in the description of the video. And lastly, if you like this video, odds are you probably are going to like one of these ones here too. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace out.